Good evening, San Diego. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis, and thank you for tuning in for your CBS 8 Plus weather update. As we cruise into the rest of tonight, that marine layer is going to roll right back in, even the potential of seeing some inland fog developing by tomorrow morning. So a little hazy out there to start off the day when we look at our overnight lows, also looking at widespread 50s and 60s for the county. Now, mainly being in the 50s. You have 59 degrees for Miramar, the same for El Cajon, 60 degrees for La Mesa, and 62 for Chula Vista. You also have those 50s right there across the mountains and 68 degrees for the desert. Then we get into our daytime highs. Well, if you like today, you're going to like tomorrow as well in the afternoon hours. Not really much of a difference, maybe just a degree or two of an increase in temperatures for tomorrow as we still have an area of high pressure nearby. You're looking at those 80s mainly east of the 15, and then you have the low 70s right there along the North County coastline with the exception of Oceanside. Also at 73 degrees for downtown. You have 70s and 80s across the mountains for tomorrow and 94 degrees for Borrego Springs. Your surf forecast about 1 to 3 feet and also a low risk of rip currents at our local beaches. That's going to at least take us through roughly the middle of the week, and then it starts to increase a little bit more to about 2 to 4, and that's with a moderate risk, and that will be starting on Thursday. Let's talk about Thursday because we're going to be keeping close eye on a system that is in the eastern Pacific. It is a hurricane, category 2 hurricane in fact, and that is with Priscilla. Priscilla has maximum sustained wind speeds about 110 miles per hour. Priscilla is moving at a slow pace towards the northwest at about 9 miles per hour. Even though it's moving towards a slow pace, that basically just means it's going to hold on to being a hurricane into tomorrow. And then we get to about Thursday. It gets lifted up by a dip in the jet stream. And so that is going to allow it, those upper level winds and the cooler air it's going to be interacting with, or cooler waters, I should say, that's going to be interacting with, that leads to its demise. And especially when it does move over land as well. So a lot of factors working against Priscilla in the days ahead. Looking to be post-tropical as we go into the start of the weekend. But the impacts for us, that's what a lot of people are asking about, as has been mentioned when it does come to chances for wet weather. Focus right there. So there's that area of low pressure being Priscilla. It starts to move a little bit more towards the north. Here's the thing. You have an area of high pressure that's sitting just towards the east of us. A big dip in the jet stream with this area of low pressure that's going to be moving in, impacting across the Pacific Northwest with scattered showers and even potentially some thunderstorms. Well, for Southern California, because you have these two different systems that are moving in opposite directions, that means that moisture gets funneled in. So that's exactly what we're seeing, kind of streamlining right towards us and then extending in towards the desert southwest. So as a result, Priscilla impacts start to go up by Thursday. We're looking at a chance for some scattered showers, models even suggesting west of the mountains we could see about 1/4 of an inch of rainfall, upwards of about 1/2 an inch of rainfall during this time frame. So that's about Thursday through Friday. We could start to see the activity developing in the early morning hours on Thursday, but it looks to be that more widespread window where we have the opportunity being in the afternoon and evening hours for Thursday. Then we hold on to our chances into about Friday night. That's when it starts to taper off a little bit more. Because of the placement of this system, a lot more of that moisture is favoring inland areas. So as a result, that's where it's a better chance of seeing some showers and even some thunderstorms as we hit Thursday and Friday. There is a slight chance that the activity could linger into about Saturday, and that's because that low actually moves that area of high pressure a little bit more towards the east. So it kind of pushes that moisture a little bit more in the easterly direction. As a result, mountains, desert, seeing those chances. And so that looks to be more favorable as we hit our Friday and Saturday forecast. Into Saturday, you start to see in the afternoon hours, it starts to dry out a little bit more. Big area of low pressure takes over the west, and as a result, that pushes a lot of that leftover moisture across Arizona. Also seeing that for New Mexico. High pressure even backs off, going a little bit more into the Gulf. As a result, you have this area of low pressure that creates a big dip in the jet stream, and then we see that big dip that's going to stick around into next week. It doesn't translate to a lot of wet weather for us by next week, but it will have our temperatures well below seasonal for this time of the year. So 60s for daytime highs for the coast as well as for the mountains, and also talking about those 70s for the inland valleys. When you look through the next 7 days for the coast, you have those 70s that are going to stay intact at least through about Sunday. And as mentioned, that big dip in the jet stream, basically a trough pattern that happens for us, that's going to bring those 60s for daytime highs. You're seeing that by Monday and Tuesday of next week for the coast. You have the 80s across the inland valleys. That's near seasonal for this time of the year. We hold on to that range at least through about Friday. You're not seeing a red box indicating a weather impact alert day. That's because this overall looks to be just kind of showery than anything else. So not talking about any alerts potentially with this system, just a chance for on again, off again showers in our forecast for about Thursday and Friday. And those chances are not very high either. Now, if they were about a 40% or more, that'd be a different story, but we're generally looking around the teens, about 15 to 20% when it does come to our chances for wet weather west of the mountains on Thursday and Friday, drying out over the weekend, back into the upper 70s for daytime highs and those low 70s by the start of next week. You have 80 degrees tomorrow for the mountains. You're back into the 70s with a chance for showers and thunderstorms. More favorable with that moisture in the afternoon and evening hours. You need to get the heating of the day going. That adds basically to the instability in our atmosphere. Just kind of think about it as someone lighting a match, throwing it down, and then putting some gasoline on it. So that's what we see when we look at our chances when you have that tropical moisture in the forecast. That's going to be on Thursday, Friday. Slight chance of seeing any of that activity by Saturday morning, but we start to dry out as we go throughout the rest of the weekend for the mountains as well as for the desert. You have the low 70s for daytime highs for the mountains over the weekend. You're back into the 60s by next week. You have the 80s going strong from Thursday all the way into about Monday of next week for the desert. And then you're back into the upper 70s for daytime highs. We'll continue to keep you posted on all the details when it does come to the path of Priscilla, if anything changes, if we start to see any of the alerts going out by the National Weather Service. Of course, you can always get that information right here. I hope you're having a great night. Thanks for tuning in.